this is what's going on today. We got some gaming news. We got the OTK Games Expo. I know it was a little bit while ago, but um, we're gonna watch it, and I'm gonna just see what kind of games I like, and if any of the games I like have demos, then we will, after we watch the Games Expo, we will be playing those demos on stream today. Yes. And then we'll wrap it up, and that'll be that. So the first video I have for you guys. All right, so this is from Bellular News. Aspengold watches that a lot, watches him a lot, and so I decided to watch one of his videos, and let's it says Xbox pushed us past the point of no return. What did Xbox do? All right, let's
Today I've got a banging proposition for you. So, do you want to spend $80 for new games on a console that nobody wants? That seems a little bit insane, but it's actually what, well, Xbox have just dropped on us with their new global price hike. Now look, I expected $80 to eventually become the new normal for big AAA games in the next console gen. I was wrong, it's sooner. Nintendo obviously moved first with their Mario Kart pricing, but now we've seen Xbox follow Nintendo's lead. But it's not just for the video games. This price hike has hit absolutely everything, and it reveals Microsoft's strategy. Take for an example the Series X. Why would you spend even more money on an Xbox now that the games will also be released on every other platform, especially when the Series X is now more expensive than a PS5 or a handheld PC? So
well, counter argument to that is that backwards compatibility for me. I mean, I personally I have a PS5, and I obviously have a PC that's able to run games. Um, it's a pretty good graphics card, but so like I said, I have a PS5, but like I would probably want the Xbox Series X, or I still do want the Xbox Series X eventually for backwards compatibility. That's just, they keep on doing this backwards compatibility, and if they're moving away from actual consoles, then that will be the only console that the where you're able to take your Xbox 360 games, let's say, Black Ops or World at War, and play, Shino Numa, and keep on getting a world record. The world record, excuse me, and have it where you can, like, zombies, at least on that end, because I like zombies. I like Call I like Call of Duty zombies. So that's the aspect that I'm thinking about personally, is that, well, if I get an Xbox, I can play my old zombies games on it, especially since you can play offline and you're not subject to the modern era of zombies. But I mean, that's only one reason. Another reason would be that, you can run basically every game on the Xbox Series X at 120 frames as long as you have the monitor, like normal. PlayStation, it takes an arm and a leg just to get it to 120. So that's another reason, but those are the only two reasons that I can really think of. And, I mean, but at the same time, that goes against the whole, like, am I going to be buying new games? No, probably not. I'll probably get Game Pass and wait for it to come on Game Pass, and then play my old backwards compatible games. So it's you know, let's see what else he has to.
We're all starting off on the same page. Xbox's last decade was a barely mitigated disaster. Okay, Game Pass was there to salvage their corporate narrative, but Sony utterly destroyed them 2 generations in a row. Reports even suggested that CEO Satya Nadella considered pulling out of games, culminating in a decision being made. On the one hand, pull out. On the other hand, double down. Satya chose the latter. We do know, of course, that he spent over $76 billion on Bethesda and Activision Blizzard. Now,
And how's that going? Which I'm sure he's about to get into. How's that going? Pretty bad. Bethesda not delivering, only delivering halfway, I've heard, on Oblivion remaster, which, I think it was I think just like everyone else agrees that it's a good thing that they kind of just shadow dropped it, because otherwise they would have gotten the scrutiny that they didn't want. I mean, they dropped Skyrim on a whim if they do, and maybe they'll make a comeback. I mean, Asmongold likes to think that they make one good Halo again, and they make one good Gears of War or whatever. I forget what the other game was, and they'll be right back in it. But I mean, Sony destroyed them two cycles in a row, only because, like it's obvious. Let's just keep on watching.
at the time we thought that was all to get them more exclusives, ideally so that people would finally have a reason to buy the Xbox, because obviously...
That's the other thing, the exclusives were not there. The exclusives for Xbox were not there. It's hard to compete with God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, just all these great games. I mean, look at Black Myth Wukong. I mean, I think that was exclusive for PlayStation. Ratchet and Clank did well. I mean, when the PlayStation 5 came out, Demon Souls came out, I think exclusively as like a remake for the PlayStation 5. So like, Xbox just didn't make the right money moves, and now they're paying the price.
Well, didn't really work out with Halo Infinite. And perhaps that was the hope, but it was a fool's hope. That obviously didn't happen, Xbox is still behind, and that brings us to the modern, post-massive layoffs version of this company. Xbox are releasing games, and the thing is, players actually love them. I mean, right now, Indiana Jones and Oblivion are on my PS5. I'm happy with them. And if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you've also just got Expedition 33 and Blueprints. That's kind of wild. So basically, be it Game Pass, PS5, PC, or streamed to your television, Microsoft's got actually good games absolutely everywhere, and they're happy to make money from that, even if it means that they also are lining Sony's pockets, which they absolutely are. I don't want to shock you, but basically, this is Microsoft deciding to finally focus on selling software and making their money there. And it's with that in mind that we now dissect the price hike. Let's start with the most relevant increase, that to the actual games. So prices are going to increase for some new games to $80 later this year. And this absolutely is peak never waste a good crisis energy. Basically, by doing it now, by announcing it now, they're kind of hoping to avoid sticker shock later. And only some games are impacted here. Call of Duty's the obvious contender. I'd say the...
We will adjust the pricing of some of our new first-party games starting this holiday season. The $79.99. This update will apply to physical and digital versions. That said, different games and expansions will continue to be offered at a variety of price points. Yes, I know. Thank you. I can. That is probably thinking, but whatever. Um, Money talks.
Big Xbox IPs like a new Gears of War game or the new Fable game, those will probably be $80. Though let's be real for
I haven't seen anything on Fable at all in the past like 8 months. I don't even know if that game is going to be coming out. People hated on that game so much. I don't on that trailer, the trailer so much, and the ugly characters, quote unquote. So like, I don't even know if that's gonna be a thing.
a second, just look at Expedition 33 and what it was able to pull off for what, $49.99?
I would like the Fable game to come out because I've never played Fable before. And looking at the trailers the other day of Fable like OG, the graphics are, I'm sure they were good for the time, but like I'm very picky with my graphics, so
It costs 45 quid in the UK, so that is a hell of a deal for what? Though let's be real for a second, just look at Expedition 33 and what it was able to pull off for what, $49.99? It costs 45 quid in the UK, so that is a hell of a deal for a video game. Now, if you're to take a more AA feeling Microsoft game like, say, Outer Worlds 2, if that was to hit $80 in a world where Expedition 33 is like just over half of that, that's pretty rough. I have to wonder if a lot of these companies are going to start pricing themselves out of the market, and if it is the case that actually this $50 price range is going to start working really well. But anyway, that's the software price hike. Now I've got to talk about the hardware. These increases, to put it rather bluntly, just feel like an execution to me. And that's because unlike PlayStation and
honestly, I can see the market going where these indie games and smaller studios make their games at a lower, like they charge a lower price, and obviously the bigger AAA studios will keep on hiking up the price, but it's gonna do the opposite effect. Maybe people will, like, some people will buy, you know, the higher priced games, but all in all, if the quality is still suckish and incomplete and I don't know, like just not the quality that, you know, the indie games and the small studios give us, then the price range is going to increase as well as the price hike. So the market will dictate that if the indie and smaller studios are making way more money than AAA studios by a large margin, their investors are going to see that, and they're probably going to call to lower prices themselves, because, you know, if you make games at a lower price but they're higher quality, of course more people are going to buy that. It doesn't matter. This matters what the quality is of. And right now, AAA studios are not at that mark anymore.
Nintendo, these are not restricted to any one set of regions, right? This is impacting the USA, Europe, UK, Australia, and unspecified other regions. They'll all see an increase, but I'm just going to use the US here as our working example, because there's actually a twist to that I'll get to in a sec. Now, the Series S costs $80 more, and both digital and disk drive Series X's get a $100 increase. That means that the Series X is $100 more expensive than a PS5. And I mean, man, I think about the Series S. That was already a tough sell, given the limited performance of that machine and the low amount of storage that it ships with. $80 more than that? I struggle to make sense of that. just buy a PS5. Anyway, base controller models are spared, but the special and limited editions are going to be $80 and $90, and then the Elite controller gets a $20 increase to $200. That's a lot of change, and the wireless headsets are going up $10 to $120. So basically, ouch. And unlike with PlayStation, where they decided to defend their competitiveness in the US by only having the price increases elsewhere, these are actually hitting the US. And in terms of percentage increase, they're actually hitting the US harder. There's a fairly obvious reason why, so yeah. Let's just go explain that. When asked if tariffs are to blame, Microsoft actually declined to comment, but let's be honest, we all know that's going to be part of it. And I mean, you could say, right, we're 5 years into the generation. Maybe this is Xbox actually wanting to increase prices because, you know, global economy, inflation. Maybe they want to set expectations for next time round so people don't get sticker shock at, I don't know, the Xbox Series X2 or whatever the hell they call it. But no, the tariffs are almost certainly part of it. As an example, analysts like Daniel Ahmad point out that under the current tariff rules, the Xbox consoles would be facing a 145% tariff cost after being imported from China, and then the physical discs for games, which are imported from Mexico, well, those are still going to face a 10% tariff. All that shit adds up, and as for why everyone else in the world would have to go up as well, it's fairly obvious. It's to cushion the American changes, because they're probably not going to pass on literally all of the price increase, so they'll, you know, increase everyone else as well, and basically to avoid backlash, which is to say, if they were going to retain their margin on what they sell in America, and they weren't to do price increases elsewhere, the American price would have to go up more than it is. So basically, everyone gets a price rise in order to subsidize the American one, so it's not as high as it would otherwise be. Obviously, some of that's directly because of tariffs. I think we could also say maybe, right? Maybe Microsoft don't expect the 145% tariffs to increase, but they're basically saying, listen, there's uncertainty, there's chaos, and we don't want to waste that chaos. We should increase our RRP. That'll defend our margins long into the future. And look over there. Nintendo is obviously doing it. PlayStation is obviously doing it. If as a whole industry we just increase those numbers, then we all defend our margin. I think that's basically what's going on. But here's the thing, with this generation of consoles, stuff's actually kind of different. So in the past, we had, well, let's just say less things competing for our silicon wafers. And that ultimately meant that with your Xbox One and your PS4, they were able to slice the prices of them down year after year after year. That has not happened this time around. It's widely reported that margins on the modern consoles are extremely thin, and you'll actually notice we are seeing less discounts and less deep discounts this time around than we did last time. Now, some of that's because, let's be real, there's not much of a competition. If you're Sony, why would you do a massive price gouge? It's not like Microsoft are really nipping at your heels. But even taking incentives like that into account, it absolutely does seem the case that no, the margins are genuinely thinner. That's rough for profitability. It's why we see these price hikes, but it's also in line with Microsoft's thinking. You see, the consoles they just price hiked weren't selling well at all, and to get an understanding of how badly, well, rather fortunately, all of this news directly followed Microsoft's discussion of their financial results, so we can dig into their finances and see just how badly hardware's been going. All of this happened hours after...
I mean, I'm not really, like, saying much, because, like, I'm understanding it all, and I don't really have much to say, but, like, I feel like I kind of already knew all of this. Like, this was already, like, kind of self-explanatory. Like, I knew about the tariffs. Like, I'm in the loop on that. And that makes sense. Like, the tariffs are gonna put prices up. But, like, I don't think that it's only the tariffs, because 145% is a lot. A lot. That's like 1.5, that's about 1.5 times. So, like, what they would normally charge us plus half. So, if I'm doing my math right, which I'm probably not, but get into frame here. Yeah, it's mostly stuff that like I already am aware about myself, and I realize that any of you watching might not be aware of it. Which, if you are watching, thank you for being here, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm going to be doing a lot of reactions and watching gaming news, and then playing some games, and then wrap up stuff. I'll probably end the stream with the game I end up playing for the day, and that's usually how my streams are gonna go for now, until further notice, until I see something not working or I need to adjust. But yeah, this like price hike with the tariffs, like he said, like with the tariffs coming in and being applied, it's kind of common sense that like the prices would rise, but I truly think that it's mostly, I don't want to say greed, but like they haven't risen prices in a while, and they're betting big on these AAA studios, and smaller or indie studios are going through Steam, not having publishers, which means that like, yeah, if they, you know, if they go through PlayStation, sure, but that also takes a long time, or Xbox, that also takes a long time. And Steam, you can just I guess you can just upload your game right away and then start making money, potentially, and in theory. So if all these, if PlayStation and Xbox are betting big on AAA studios, for example, Call of Duty is not really in the best place right now. Bethesda is not really in the best place right now. Microsoft just bought Bethesda, and they launched their first game, their first game of Starfield, and that was a while ago, obviously, but like it still didn't really get a lot of traction. Valve didn't take off. Midnight, a lot of these games that, you know, they're, I'm trying not to be mean like Asmongold, because Asmon, when like I have said before, I watch a lot of Asmon, so like like I said, to recap, the AAA studios that Xbox and PlayStation have invested in have not been doing well. PlayStation has been doing well because of God of War and all these exclusives, and they've been making the right decisions with that end. But everything else is not going very well, and so it's only natural that they would want to raise prices. They have to recoup the money somehow.
After Microsoft briefed their investors in their Q3 reporting. Basically, that's where they reported that hardware in particular was just having a battering, and according to the reporting in the earnings call from Windows Central, their sales for hardware decreased by 6%. And the sad news for them, right, is that this is actually a slower decrease than previous quarters. So, you know, silver linings and all. And basically, that is the definition of damning by faint praise, I would say. It's like, hey, we're bleeding out, but we're bleeding out ever so slightly slower. Obviously, if those sales were declining, I have a feeling that the price increases will just make them decline even more. But elsewhere, PC Game Pass users grew 45% year on year. That's pretty goddamn substantial. Their cloud gaming reached new record usage counts with 150 million hours streamed, and that all contributed to a wider 8% growth for the content and services element of Xbox. And that really is the big one. In particular, this was likely driven by Xbox becoming, quote, the biggest publisher in PlayStation. Which is absolutely true, with, say, Call of Duty alongside the ports for Indiana Jones and Forza driving loads of growth there. And that basically means that their non-exclusive model for games is actually working. And that's with them barely digging into their library. So in this context, the pricing changes actually make even more sense. So basically, I'll put it this way. If hardware is underperforming and it's only selling to the most hardcore audience, then that's maybe the group of people who would be able to stomach the price increases. Perhaps the most price and value sensitive customers have already made the call not to go Xbox. Like everybody, they probably just saw that PS5 was going to be dominant, so they backed the winner, right? Which would make sense. Now, there's no point in producing a machine that you're going to be selling at a loss if you're not selling it in the first place. The whole business model with consoles, selling at a loss, being a loss leader, is you grow your store, right? And then you get the 30% of everything you sell on that store. With
Right, but if that's the case, then what have they done in the past? If everyone who wants a Xbox has an Xbox or has moved on to PlayStation, wouldn't you want to, doesn't that call for rearranging hardware? Doesn't that call for isn't that usually when a hardware refresh comes into play? So what have they been doing? Is the Series X the refresh? Is that the refresh? Because if it is, it doesn't make any sense, because what would it be the refresh to? Would it be the refresh to the Xbox One? The One X? The One X was the refresh for the One. So the Series X is the new console. So then when you have a refresh, your competitors are having refreshes. Nintendo just announced a whole new console. Did they not? I mean, Nintendo's not really a competitor anymore, and they've been doing their own shit. But I don't know. This is usually the time where you have a refresh and you try to get people back on the horse for Xbox and Microsoft. That's been the trend. Unless you're trying to change the trend, which, go get them, girl. But I mean, other than that, I'm just sitting here confused as a consumer. I'm sitting here confused, not knowing what you're expecting. If especially since console sales are going down way slower than they usually do, wouldn't you want to race and take advantage of this time to make a new refresh of a console? If not a new console, I'm not talking really about a new console. I'm talking about a mid-generation refresh, because your competitors have, as in Sony. They put out the Pro. Wouldn't you want to do the same? Whatever, man.
Xbox being small, there's just less of an incentive there for Microsoft. I mean, you could even say there's a justification for increasing the price of the Series S after games like EA College Football, in fact, drove sales for it massively. There could be that. Then with the release of the Switch 2 at $450, it does actually mean that the cheapest way to play those games is still on a Series S, but it's only by $20. Let's be real, it's a Series S. Anyway, the growth of the platform in PlayStation, though, that justifies price increases for the likes of your Call of Duties. Even with PlayStation's 30% cut of sales, think about it this way. $56 out of an $80 game is a lot better than $49 from a $70 game. And if it's something that you know is going to sell like crazy, like Call of Duty, then hey, it's really easy.
Top 6 isn't even on the list for the EU. Wow, that's weird.
And the thing with Call of Duty is, yeah, people buy that. They buy it for full price. They do so regularly. And even when other companies try to compete with Call of Duty by going free, guess what happens? People don't go to the free thing. They sample it and they pretty much immediately go back to Call of Duty. So of course they think they'll be able to get an extra $10 there. But for Microsoft, it's not just that. The knock-on effects of all of this play straight into another part of their strategy. So PC Game Pass and Ultimate subscriptions are still a major earner for Microsoft. And since the PlayStation audience doesn't have access to that service, it's either pay full price for Xbox's desirable games or move off Sony's platform to get them on the subscription service. So in a way, Microsoft are setting it up so that either one of their business models will win. That's the entire way they've architected everything. Whereas for Sony, well, exclusives are their moat. The whole point of Sony making exclusives be their moat, the thing that is completely unique, was that you had to get a PlayStation console. And that's how Sony would basically continually be ahead. What Microsoft has done is, in a way, called their bluff by appealing to some of their own incentives. So to be fair to Microsoft, as much as they've done so much damage, they've actually been fairly smart in re-architecting their business. And that's what gets me to our final topic today, which is the future and how all this is going to shake out. Because let's be real, gaming in the next 5 years is going to be very different to, say, gaming of 10 years ago. At this point, if someone working for Xbox marketing isn't working on a plan to get Game Pass deals out across every available platform to offer, the affordable new way to play games, then they're basically failing at their jobs. If stuff's going up in price, Game Pass just looks even better. If times are tough and you position yourself as the value king, that's pretty good. Even if it means that you're positioning yourself as the value king by hiking your prices and then offering a solution to the problem you just caused by hiking your prices, in the form of Game Pass. But even Game Pass is likely to see a price rise in the future. We've all seen the patterns, and there have already been price increases. Last summer, Xbox rebuilt all their offerings for console players to encourage upgrading to the higher value tier. $20 a month for Ultimate and access to day one games is still a fairly good deal compared to an $80 upfront cost. But will we see another price increase this summer? If Game Pass's own history and other subscription services are anything to go by, yeah, we absolutely should expect a price increase. And even with your additional benefits like your Xbox Play Anywhere and all those other things, I think it still would be a steep ask for customers in the coming months, right, as these games filter out. At least they do have quite a lot of games coming. But for me, after going through their data, the main thing that stands out is the 45% growth for PC Game Pass. That's real strong growth. So they basically have a decision to make. Do they, in line with what they did over on console, re-architect that towards profitability and margin? Or do they keep PC Game Pass as something that is still a ridiculously good value as compared to its console counterpart? I'd say right now, they know how far behind they are over on PC, so they're probably going to keep PC Game Pass, relatively speaking, the better deal. But no matter what way you slice it, across all of this, it comes back to their changed business model, that it is all about games and lots of games. They just need their pipeline of games to come out like clockwork. And speaking of clockwork, there's Clockwork Revolution, you've got State of Decay, Perfect Dark. Keep all of that going while still looking for your Game Pass titles like your Blueprints and your Expedition 33s, all to make Game Pass look like a deal so good you would be stupid not to buy it. But if you don't, well, they control the games that are really good, and you will buy them on your PlayStation. So yeah, who cares about selling Xboxes when they're caring about selling the thing that actually makes them money? At least that's their plan. In many ways it's smart, but let's be real, people are anxious about price. Life's actually pretty damn hard. Markets are changing, etc., etc., etc. And that's why this next story stood out to me, because there's a sort of new business model that an ex-Blizzard Entertainment, in fact, a game that is published by the Moreheims, that it's trying out. It's not shareware, but it is free to share. It's a little different, it's not the norm, but even within 2025, it's already a model that shifted millions of copies. You can find out more about that.
All right. Well, yeah. Right there. Yep. That's the price hike. This is like 2 weeks old, so like mostly everyone knows about this, but I just wanted to give it some time to breathe. I guess I gave it a little bit too much time to breathe. Anyway, yeah, that's the video. Bellular is a pretty good. I like Bellular. I found him through Asmongold. I was watching one of his videos, and he was reacting to one of Bellular's videos, and yeah. So yeah, they're definitely gonna up the price of Game Pass in the summer. They already up the price of the Xbox Series X, and this whole like
Sensitive customer.
this whole like 2 terabyte Galaxy Black edition, that's not refresh, and they know it. And 2 terabytes for $729, that's a lot. That's more than the PS5 Pro. More than the PS5 Pro. What are you doing, Xbox? What are you doing, Xbox? Anyway, that is the video. Give it a like. Go watch it yourself. And for anyone that joins in, this link in both chats. Wants to watch this themselves. Take a page out of Asmongold's book. I'm only going to paste it 3 times because I have no chat whatsoever, and it's fine. That's totally fine. But I'm going to end the video here, and yeah. So, alright. So there's that. Alright, so I got another video for us. Gonna react to this one from some Ordinary Games Mudahar. We're gonna do a alright, this is Nintendo is doing something wild. I guess they can brick your consoles now. That's what Mudahar is saying, some Ordinary Games. Let's get into it.
Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahar, and ladies and gentlemen, I feel like today is going to be a video where I talk about Nintendo, and I'm always like, man, they cannot defend this.
By the way, this is a little bit old too. It's like 2 weeks old. I didn't mean to wait this long, but I did. But what do you got, Mudahar?
It's okay, they cannot defend this. Okay, the fanboys cannot. And then part of me dies when I realize they absolutely will find a way to defend this. So, ladies and gentlemen, to give you an idea, I read this headline: Nintendo reserves the right to brick your console following unauthorized use. So immediately when I saw,
Before he gets to his opinion, that's fair. Stay with me. Unauthorized use is fair to brick your console. You're not supposed to be using it in a certain way. It's your console, but I'm assuming it's for modding. They're not wanting you to mod their console. It's like trying to jailbreak your PS5. They can break your console for. So I mean, to be fair and just on first glance of first hearing this, I'm pretty sure that's at least to me that's perfectly fine. I'm gonna check my audio real quick. Give me a second. That's perfectly fine. I'm gonna check my audio real quick. Give me a second.
this, there was a red flag in my head. Okay,
That's perfectly fine. I'm gonna check my audio real quick. Give me a second.
this, there was a red flag in my head. Okay,
That's perfectly fine. I'm gonna check my audio real quick. Give me a second.
this, there was a red flag in my head. Okay,
That's perfectly fine. I'm gonna check my audio real quick. Is that what was? Testing. Testing. Hear myself.
that could either be absolutely following unauthorized use. So immediately when I saw this.
Okay, so it sounds fine. Okay, that sounds perfectly fine. I don't know why it's saying that I have a bit rate that's 0. So I have no idea what is going on. But we're gonna continue the video. And did I cut that out? Alright, we're back.
This, there was a red flag in my head. Okay, that could either be absolutely overblown or it's not. And if I'm making a video about it, there's a good chance, ladies and gentlemen, it is not overblown. So there are 3 big gaming companies out there that make gaming hardware, consoles. You've got Microsoft, you've got Sony, you've got Nintendo. And all 3 of these people have absolutely introduced things that I don't agree with on their systems. But today we're looking at an update to something known as an end user license agreement that, again, is something we all sign when we play video games,
EULA.
buy a piece of hardware, so on and so forth. So Nintendo introduced a few things into this that I'm not a big fan of, okay? So let's cover the lightest thing here, okay? So one of them is the breach and termination and dispute resolution. So dispute resolution is pretty important, okay? To give you an idea about it, what Nintendo has basically said over here is that you are not allowed to do a class action, okay? What you have to do is arbitrate with Nintendo directly on their
Please read this section carefully because it requires you and Nintendo to arbitrate certain disputes and limits the manner in which you and Nintendo can seek relief from each other. Arbitration provision precludes you and Nintendo from suing in court, having a trial by jury, or participating in a class action lawsuit. Personally, I don't plan on participating in any class action lawsuit. Now, normal Joe, so like I relatively like Nintendo's games. I don't like the way that they run their business, but I do like their games. Now that might sound like an oxymoron, or it might seem like it's an oxymoron or hypocritical or contradictory, I think the word is. But I do like their games. I have a big old stack on this table right back here of Nintendo games that I still haven't played, only because I have a whole stack of PlayStation games back there. It's on my backlog. So I mean, it is what it is, but I don't plan on doing a class action lawsuit, but they shouldn't basically make you sign an EULA and put in there that you can't participate in a class action lawsuit or sue Nintendo. That's very broad, so I mean that's probably for any reason, and having a trial by jury. They basically don't want to get sued. I get that, but like it happens, and you know, didn't change my title, whatever. Um, I get that they don't want to get sued, but like, still, Munahar is probably right. I'm gonna take a second to change this real All right.
home turf if you have an issue, okay? Now, obviously, this is not good. Companies absolutely hate class action because class actions, much like the Sony versus like the Sony versus the people, where Sony once introduced a feature called Other OS, they removed it. Sony was sued by class action, and ultimately, all the people that came together with their grievances, right, through the law firms that represented them, the law firm that did, they ended up getting like a few bucks back. But obviously, Sony lost a fair bit of money just, again, by doing something that was stupid, which was removing features from an actual system. Now, I would say that most companies absolutely hate when people come together to exert some level of legal force on one of these big monolith agencies. So obviously with Nintendo, they're really not a huge fan of that. And you are not allowed to class action anymore, okay? That is not good by Nintendo standards. So if you want to take Nintendo to court, you better be willing to do it by yourself with your own money against a company that is probably one of the richest corporations in the realm of video gaming, okay?
Not to mention, they will kick your ass in court. They have done it many, many times. Many, many times. Now, be it on copyright suits, but I'm pretty sure their lawyers are very experienced in the courtroom. And unless you have a shit ton of money, you're not gonna win. Most likely.
Okay. Now
That's I need to go get something to drink. Sorry guys. Sorry, your ears.
that is probably one of the richest corporate by not a huge fan of that. And you are not allowed to class action anymore, okay? That is not good by Nintendo standards. So if you want to take Nintendo to court, you better be willing to do it by yourself with your own money against a company that is probably one of the richest corporations in the realm of video gaming, okay? Now, of course, the thing that really sort of like drove me out was the ability for Nintendo to add restrictions to their services and their devices. Okay, so we're going to read this through, and we're gonna try to understand what goes on. Okay, so according to the license, subject to the terms of agreements, Nintendo grants you a non-exclusive, non-transferable, revocable license to use the Nintendo account services solely for your personal and non-commercial use. Okay, so that is like the account you make to download shit from Nintendo to play like games online and do anything on their online service. Okay, that's pretty standard. Like that's what most online services do. Without limitation, you agree that you may not publish, copy, modify, reverse engineer, release, rent, decompile, disassemble, distribute, offer for sale, or create derivative works of any product of the Nintendo account services. B, bypass, modify, decrypt, defeat, tamper with, or otherwise circumvent any of the functions or protections of the Nintendo service accounts through use of any hardware or software that would cause the Nintendo account services to operate other than in accordance with the documentation that intended use, okay? So I guess hacking on their service, modifying a Nintendo Switch with an exploit that possibly could ruin the experience for other people online, I suppose. C, obtain, install, or use any unauthorized copies of Nintendo account services, or exploit the Nintendo account services in any manner other than use them in accordance with the applicable documentation and intended use. So far, it's all got to do with the online service, right? Like, which kind of makes sense. In each case, without Nintendo's written consent or express authorization, so Nintendo doesn't need to, Nintendo don't need your consent, okay? They can just walk in and do what they need to. or unless otherwise expressly permitted by applicable law, you acknowledge that if you fail to comply with the foregoing restrictions, Nintendo may render the Nintendo account service and or the applicable Nintendo device, the console, permanently unusable in whole or in part. Motherfucker, what is your problem, brother? What is wrong with you? What?
God, those eyes.
All right.
You see those eyes? Muda, you okay? Are you okay? You got crazy ex-girlfriend eyes, man. You doing okay?
Brother, what is wrong with you? What? All right, we reached to a point. You know, this might be one of the worst console launches that, at least from like a game owner perspective, that I've seen. Okay, first off, okay, the game key card stuff, fine, whatever. You can vote with your wallet and say, I'll just buy the copies of games that are actually completed. You know, I bought a game known as Stalker, like Zone of the let me actually find it. Stalker, like this Stalker collection on the Switch, and it's all 3 Stalker games, like actually on a game card. Actually, I bought it from a local game store, and you know, they had this Japanese copy in print, and it's an amazing collection. All right, I vote with my wallet. I just buy physical media that actually is respectful. Okay, I don't buy, you know, physical media that is like in part, okay, crippled media, so to speak, right? Like where you put it into the system and it's like, oh my God, here, download this 80 fucking gigabyte game. We could have fit it on the disc, but we just chose not to, okay? You know, Microsoft just did that with that Doom game that's coming out, Dark Ages. Could have fit on the disc, chose not to, okay? Instead, they produced e-waste en masse, and for a company that like loves to jerk off carbon fucking neutrality, I'm so shocked that they love polluting the environment with this actual goddamn e-waste. But you know what? You can vote with your wallet. Whatever, fine. It is what it is. $80 games. Okay, maybe you don't wait for them to go on sale. Vote with your wallet. Bro, the console can be bricked at their discretion is insanity. And then it's like,
They're not gonna break your console for no reason. You hack, you get bricked. Ayo. Pause. You hack, you get your console bricked. You can't use it. You mod it in any way, you get your console bricked. Unusable. Honestly, I think that's fair. Now, suing part and like there are, you know, things that like you might need to I don't know. I'm not really in the field of suing big corporations. I'm the guy that like likes to play his games and like I don't know, just not go into a lawsuit. I mean, I don't really have a lot of money anyway, so I'm not. If you know, like the class action lawsuit with Apple and Epic Games, I didn't really see any reason to participate in that. It really doesn't have anything to do with me. So like I'm not me personally. I'm not out here looking for class action lawsuits. So like in that regard, why? It's weird. It is weird that like they put it in the EULA, and that's probably the only way that they can get it in there. But like that is something that you have to sign, and you can't get around it because they program it to where if you don't sign, you don't play the game. So that is partly the reason why gamers just skip it, right? That's why you guys skip it. And you just hit agree. Kind of don't read it. That's kind of what I do. So I mean, like, I'm not on their side. I don't think that they really needed to make this change. I mean, I get it. They don't like losing money, but yeah, I guess I sound like I'm on their side. But it is what it is. I'm not. I'm just kind of neutral about it. And I sound like I'm on their side. That's it.
It's like, oh, well, we're going to take away your right to sue. So if you do want to sue them, you can't bundle up with other people and sue the company. You have to go mano a mano with Nintendo Legal yourself, which you might as well, okay? Just take a fucking sledgehammer to your balls at this point. That's how effective it is. Now, I'm sure there's going to be the defense, but Muda, I'm not going to hack my system, and then Nintendo won't do anything to me. You know, this actually comes down to a real fundamental answer. Should a company be allowed to destroy the product that you buy? Because think about it, right? Let's say that
if you hack it, if you what's it called? Jailbreak it. I think they have the right to do that. You jailbreak it, there have been scams all over the place. I think that they should be able to brick the console if you're gonna jailbreak it. Now, of course, I have friends that jailbreak, their PS4 or whatever, but yeah, they should have some right in preventing scams, preventing, something being their console being stolen, and then, they have to brick it, right? You're okay with that. I'm sure you're okay with that if someone steals a PS5 or there have been stories of people stealing PS5s and then reselling them, right? I know I've heard about that. Do the same thing with the Nintendo Switch 2. Steal a Nintendo Switch 2, resell it on Facebook Marketplace, and yeah, it'll be bricked, but like if you steal it, well, guess it doesn't really stop the seller. I don't know, guys. I'm just a man, and I like he said in that weird voice, I don't plan to, brick my, hack my console, or I'm not one of those people. But if someone does, they probably should have that right. Now, they don't have the right to do it for any reason. If you didn't do anything wrong on the console, I don't think that you should. You should get your console brick. I think that that's unfair. But to me, it just sounds like they're trying to protect their ass. And no matter who you are, I feel like you have that right.
the mere act of firing up a Nintendo Switch meant that you
Now, I thought of another thing. Sorry that I'm pausing so much, but now when the console goes out of, like, the 3DS is moddable, or people are modding that, and Nintendo genuinely and probably generally doesn't care, because they're not selling any games, they're not selling any more of the consoles, and they've closed the store on the 3DS. So what would be the point of bricking those consoles? Nothing. It's bad PR. It's bad customer service. They would get a whole bunch of backlash. So they don't brick. So they don't brick those consoles, or those the 3DSs. But the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2 that's coming out is part of what they're still serving. So if you hack or mod or do something to your console that's illegal, in the sense of like against their agreement, that's clearly like against the agreement, then like you should probably get your console bricked.
Connect to Nintendo online services. Now, let's say that you firing up a Nintendo Switch meant, because think about it, right? Let's say that the mere act of firing up a Nintendo Switch meant that you connect to Nintendo online services. Now, let's say that you run custom firmware on your Switch, and I guess maybe you're interacting with Nintendo online services, whatever, but you're not using it to pirate video games. Maybe you want to run like emulators on your brand new Switch 2 when it's hackable, if it's hackable. And you want to run other things. I'm sure people will say, but what about the pirates, Muda? What about the people hacking in video games? Yeah, they're terrible people, and you can just remove them from accessing the network as a whole, right? Like much in the way the Xbox 360 would do it, or the PlayStation 3. If you were running a hack, if you were, blatantly being a douchebag, Sony and Microsoft would just remove you from their networks. They would console ban you, but you could still actually use your console to play video games, even though you lost the online functionality. If they were pretty upfront about that, maybe. But the fact that they can say they can brick your system in whole, not just in part, in whole is also mentioned, right? Which means the entire system becomes unusable. That is a question I think people need to ask, okay? Now, I don't think EULAs like this should be entirely legal. To be fair, I want to see what an actual court would say if this was tested. But it kind of reminds me like, should a company be allowed to just take away your game, to take away your system that you paid money for, okay? A while back, all right, actually not even really a long time ago.
Like I said before, if he's just asking the general question, should a company be able to just break your console with no other conditions? No. Shouldn't just be able to break your console whenever they want because you paid for that console. No, that's your property. That's like when you buy a TV from Samsung, if you put a Fire Stick in, then Samsung can brick your TV. No. Or for any reason, they can just brick your TV. No. Obviously, no. But if you're talking about modding, hacking, even, I guess, I don't really know much about emulation. So maybe someone in the chat who's watching, or maybe someone who's watching can, let me know how that really works, because I don't really emulate games. I mean, I have a GameCube and a Wii, and I wouldn't really emulate that. I would, plug it in and play it just straight from the actual console. But emulation, I don't know how that works, if like you have to quote unquote hack it first, get the code, and then make a program or software on your computer, and that's how you get the emulation. I don't know. I actually don't know. So if that's the only way, I mean, I guess that would be an exception and not the rule. But I guess I'm more focused on malicious intent. And Nintendo has never really been. Nintendo has a history of not being very, what's the word? Like with Smash tournaments, you really have to get permission. You really have to like get consent from Nintendo to really do anything with Nintendo consoles or Nintendo anything. So they've been historically like this. This isn't the first time. So I don't know, maybe I'm just not understanding it and I need to do more research, but I'm very laissez-faire and very laid back, I guess, about it.
ago. A car manufacturer by the name of BMW, I'm sure you watching have probably heard of it. They had a subscription service for you to probably, I'm sure not even really a long time ago. A car manufacturer by the name of BMW, I'm sure you watching have probably heard of it.
Yes.
They had a subscription service for you to pay a subscription fee to use the actual heated seats in your car. Now, you might be like, wow, that's stupid. Okay, the heated seats exist. Why do I have to pay a subscription service fee to use heated seats? Now, let's say that there was a BMW hack, right? You could just put it onto a flash drive, stick it into your car, and get access to all of the stuff that you've already paid for without needing BMW's dogshit DRM and blocking. Now, let's say BMW detected that you did that, right? And
Let's stop it there. You paid for the car. It comes with heated seats. In the past, it has already come with heated seats, and that's with the price of the car. If you're sticking a flash drive into your car to be able to make the heated seats work, when that's a gray area that I feel like it's obviously not malicious in the sense that, like, but it's borderline stealing. You paid for the car, and yes, it has the ability to have heated seats. So I guess your point, Muda, would be that you already, like, the car has heated seats. It's not like it's a version that doesn't have heated seats. So therefore, since it's a version that has heated seats, you would assume or imply, or whatever the term is, that you had already paid for it. I guess in the sense, in that whole workaround, that whole loop, you're right. You should get the heated seats, and I guess it doesn't make it right, but in a sense, you did pay for the heated seats. They're not working, but they shouldn't have made the subscription to the heated seats anyway. You should just pay a fee for the heated seats version of the car. You shouldn't pay a monthly subscription. That's the stupid part. That's what everyone agrees, and I'm pretty sure they took it back. If they didn't, it died down and they got away with it. But let's keep on.
they were like, oh shit, all of the stuff that you've already paid for without needing BMW's dogshit DRM and blocking. Now, let's say BMW detected that you did that, right? And they were like, all right, well, let's just brick this dude's car. Not just deny you from accessing BMW servers for software updates in the future or downloading map updates. No, just straight brick your car. Okay, like, motherfucker, your car cannot start. The car cannot move forward. It is just a bricked machine sitting on your driveway or wherever. Should that be okay? Should a company be allowed to do that? I disagree. I think when you buy a Nintendo Switch, right, if I want to hack my Nintendo Switch and I'm not bothering anybody on the Nintendo Switch online framework, I don't think any company should have the legal right to tell me what I can and cannot do with their fucking device, okay? You can tell me what I can and cannot do with your, online software when I'm interacting with your servers and other players. But I really don't think a company should have the legal right to tell you what you can't do with your system, okay? But ultimately, it seems like that is...
That's a good point. That's a good point. I don't know, man. It's ultimately my thought is that it's a gray area, and I still have the whole malicious intent side. And yes, there are few people that are going to hack it and not be on the online services. But let's say you did want to one day, let's say you do hack your Nintendo Switch, right? Let's say you do hack your Nintendo Switch and you don't intend to go online. Okay, sure. But what happens one day you decide that you want to go online? That's potentially malicious. I mean, I'm arguing for something that I don't really believe in, I guess. So I can't really say much more about it.
That is the case, which is one of the reasons why, like, you know, okay, I really don't think a company should have the legal.
As for the car thing, I feel like that's a bad analogy because my first thought is that because the car is so much more expensive and it's just one feature that you're hacking, not the entire car. You're not. I mean, it's hard to explain without sounding like I'm mumbling or, going off in a tangent, but hacking the console is hacking the entire thing. Hacking the heated seats is just hacking the heated seats. Now, it doesn't make it right. No. No. It doesn't make it right. And you wouldn't be, in the car situation, you wouldn't be affecting really anyone else. But if the code is messed up enough to where it affects the computer system of the car and it affects your lights or your electrical system in some way where you cause an accident, okay, well, you hacked your car in a certain way and you did it wrong, and so you caused harm to other people or potential harm at the lowest level. Now, if you hack your console and you're using it just for personal use and you're not going online, you're going online for the store. Now, you're not interacting with anyone else, but you say you want to go online one day. You really unhack the system. Once you open that box, you open Pandora's box, you can't really close it. That's a weird ass pause. I just noticed that. So I mean, and I am really, really iffy on this subject.
What I can and cannot do with your, online software when I'm interacting with your servers and other players.
Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I'm being weird with my opinion, or if maybe I have a point. But Muda does have a point with the whole personal use argument.
But I really don't think a company should have the legal right to tell you what you can't do with your system, okay? But ultimately, it seems like that is the case, which is one of the reasons why, like, I really will always say the Steam Deck is the more superior option over anything Nintendo offers. And, this thing doesn't sit on my desk as a prop.
Hashtag ad.
I actually am using it. When you see it on my desk, it means that, I did play a video game on it that day when I was recording. In fact, literally, if I just fire up my actual Switch, you'll probably see, like, I have Bully running on it, like Bully on the PlayStation 2 emulating on my Steam Deck. This is an unintended feature. Valve made the Steam Deck, but the thing is, Valve does not own the Steam Deck. Valve doesn't own this specific Steam Deck anymore. Valve sold me this, and I can choose to use their operating system, interact with their servers, or I can blow everything off of this and install Windows or my own custom version of Linux. In fact, what Valve didn't intend with this device was for me to install PCSX2, as I just showed you, run a ROM of Bully, and play it on my device, okay? They did not intend for that, but yet it is my choice. It is my freedom to do that on a device that I purchased.
Muda, you convinced me to be on your side now. So, the thought that I just had was that when you buy a PC, the company that you buy the PC from, like if you buy a pre-built, can't tell you what to do with it. They can't shut your, like if I buy it from, you know, PC part picker, but any pre-built PC place, I don't know. I got mine in 2018, so I remember. But they're not gonna brick your PC if you hack your own PC. If you put your own operating system on it, they're not gonna do that. It's your PC. So, in the same sense, Valve, like he just said, lets you put really any operating system like it's a PC on the Steam Deck. So honestly, with that logic, he convinced me to switch sides. I would agree with. You know.
If Valve decided, you know what, we don't like people emulating on the Steam Deck, we're just going to nuke every device remotely. That would be a serious problem, and I'm sure you would understand why that's a fucking serious problem. What Nintendo is doing, in my opinion, is basically forcing themselves into a part of your life, into a part of your ownership that I don't think they have a legal right to. You know, 10 years ago, one of the videos that I saw floating around was one by Murder of Crows. And I'm glad that I could dig it up recently, because he showcases one really disgusting thing. He buys a Nintendo Wii U, and one of the things is when he's firing up his Nintendo Wii U, he basically gets assaulted by the Wii U into a end-user license agreement. So he can't literally say, I cancel, I don't agree to that. He has to click the OK button, which takes him to this page where the only option he has is to agree, okay? Now, remember, he bought the system, he probably bought a game or two, and he just wants to play his video games. Now, according to this EULA, you could refund the console, like just send it back to Nintendo and they'd give you the whole refund, which, you know, you could avoid, you know, absolutely signing this. But again, all right, even when he tries to quick launch a video game, it doesn't work. Nintendo has forced this EULA onto him, right? And I don't think any company should just be allowed to do that. When you buy their hardware, when you buy their video game, I really do personally believe that at that point, they really shouldn't have any control over what the fuck you do with your system unless you're connecting it to the online and interacting with their servers in real time or other players, right? That's all obvious, like, demarcation point we all can agree on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I saw this floating around and I thought it was probably one of the most disgusting things that Nintendo has done in recent times. And again, it's not the only disgusting thing that Nintendo has even done. You know, just a quick reminder, Nintendo, when it comes to their competition, the indie game scene even, right? Pokemon is one of the largest fucking media brands in the world. Mm-hmm. And literally, you know, they are actually going after, you know, people who are making better versions, better similar products to their own,
where
right?
Are you at?
So Pal World, for anybody that doesn't remember, I talked about their lawsuit that was happening, but recently they actually said a few new things, right? So they said they'd like to express their sincere gratitude, which obviously we understand. The litigation is ongoing. So they remain involved in prolonged legal proceedings regarding.
And again, this was like a 2-week-old video. Unfortunately, it is that old. So this was a little bit a while ago.
Alleged patent infringement. So on November 30th, they introduced a patch for the game, and that removed the ability to summon pals by throwing the pal spheres, which was, I guess, the Pokeball analog. And they changed it to a static summon next to the player. But next, they also said, we regret to inform our players that with the implementation of patch 0.5.5, they have to make another compromise. And what's that compromise? From that patch, gliding will be performed using a glider rather than with pals. Pals in the player's team will still provide passive buffs to gliding. So remember the whole thing where like you can just get on top of your flying pal and just fly around the map? Well, apparently it seems like Nintendo has, I guess, the patent to that game mechanic, and other gamers cannot use mounts in a 3D environment at all. It seems like that is a
let's see. Elden Ring. Um, what other games are there? Oblivion. Um, let's see. Basically any fantasy game. That's weird. WoW. I'm pretty sure you get mounts in WoW. So that means that they wanna say that. So then in WoW that attacks the WoW sphere. That any WoW gamers out there, any WoW players, hey, you can't ride on your mounts anymore. Sorry, Nintendo says so. Sorry. That's what that means.
Against against Nintendo's kosher beliefs, right? You have to absolutely remove your gameplay feature so Nintendo can be appeased. And the thing
Hogwarts Legacy. That's another game.
about this is super baffling because, like, if we're gonna really be honest, like mounting an animal, I guess in this case is more like mounting a Pokemon that you've captured or like a monster you've captured. Mounting creatures is something that I've seen in other games, like World of Warcraft, even, right? Other actual.
And how long has World of Warcraft been around? Nintendo? Weird. Kinda weird. I guess, WoW, yeah. I guess WoW players can't use that feature anymore. Wow. That's weird.
Features, other actual games rather, where I've seen this feature set play out. But to see Nintendo be so litigious about it is actually insane, especially against a company that literally is, by their own comparisons, an independent company. And sure, we can say that Power World is very deceptively close to Pokemon, but it's not, okay? It's still a parody product. And to see Nintendo be so hard about this instead of actually creating a video game that can rival Power World in terms of how much it resonates with the, fan base, I think that's the most telling thing right there. But you know what? Honestly, I wish I could be shocked, but I'm not. Nintendo has done a lot of bad shit, but I really do think the ability for them to, I guess now, destroy your system, okay? Because that's what it seems like from reading this. And I know that people will say, but what if it doesn't happen? It's not what if it doesn't happen. It's what if it can happen. Which it seems, according to reading all of this legalese and everybody else, already looking at this as well too, it seems like Nintendo has an even further grip on what you can and cannot do with the shit that you buy. Now, if you want to contest this, okay, the easiest route, and I'll always say this, is vote with your wallet, right? Don't get a Switch 2. Maybe just get the Steam Deck, okay? A lot of those big games that are coming out on the actual Switch, games like Super Mario.
The Steam Deck is pretty damn expensive, though. $600. Coming out to $450. I mean, the Steam Deck is much more powerful, and you can do way more shit on the Steam Deck. But running it natively, it's a hard bargain.
Kart or Mario World Kart. Yeah, I mean, that might be the one exclusive, but generally speaking, the only game that I would be interested for on the Switch 2 would be Cyberpunk 2077. A game that I have a DRM-free copy of from GOG that I've also just installed onto my Steam Deck. And sure, it might not run as pretty as the actual Switch 2, but this system is here in the now. And it actually is respectful comparing itself to the actual, like, Nintendo Switch 2. But hey, that's just where my thoughts are. Why?
Anyway, that was a good video. That was a very good video. Muda, you that was a wild roller coaster you and I had. That was a very wild roller coaster that you and I both had throughout the video. I was back and forth. I was on the fence. Very much on the fence. maybe a little bit away from your side. And by the end of the video, you absolutely convinced me to come to your side of the fence. And Nintendo can brick your console for any reason, and it's not right. It's not. They make you sign the EULA, which says that they can brick your console for basically any reason. It's right there. And yeah, we're fucked. So anyway, give it a like. Go to Muda's channel and give it a like. Give him a sub. Here it is. In the YouTube chat, this is Nintendo brick console. That link. You go kick that. Either one will work. Nintendo and brick Switch. That was a good video. We're gonna move on to the next one. Thank you, Muda, for that very informative, very wild roller coaster, like I said. And yeah. This one is about Expedition 33. Bellular says that Expedition 33 is out of date, apparently. I guess it's AAA Studios complaining about 33 and how it's a massive game and it's doing really, really well. All right, and let's get into it.
Okay, today's video is kind of wild, and I'll start by sharing some stats. And keep in mind, this is all from a core team of just 30 people. So, 1 million sales in 3 days, and that's not even counting Game Pass, so there'll be a load more players, a 97% recommendation on OpenCritic, and 92% on Steam as of the first 17,000 reviews. There have been thousands more, and obviously, a lot of copies sold on PlayStation. Basically, by any numbers, Clair Obscura Expedition 33 is one of the best games this year. But there's a thing, this is not like a lot of the other games. It's actually a tiny core team, a core team of just 30. This is their debut title, and it's, well, a turn-based RPG. This is in a genre that the big players so far have dismissed, and at least from like an audience's perspective, it completely came out of nowhere.
Apparently, it's a team of Ubisoft developers. Ex-Ubisoft developers, I think.
So, that's the overall story of Expedition 33 in the market, though parts of it aren't always accurate. Now, I'm not here to shit in the team, very much the opposite. To oversimplistically glaze them actually undermines how much of an achievement this game actually is, how sensible, how smart this team have been, and we'll also be able to cover today where the game came from and who funded it. First up, if you're not part of the million sales,
I am interested in playing this game. I'm just very weary about turn-based because I'm not a very big turn-based person. So it's a little bit iffy. It's on my radar though, and I have it downloaded. I think I bought it. I can't remember. I have so many games. Unless, like, I'll prove it. that's my one backlog. Um, this is the other over there. That's all Nintendo games right there. And yeah, so I have a very long list of games. This one obviously just came out, so I'm thinking of playing it, but I have other games that I really want to play. There's too many games. Too many games.
Expedition 33 is a turn-based RPG with reactive combat quick-time events set in a painterly world where anyone past the age of 33 is killed by a wrathful god. You and your party set out to do basically the JRPG thing, you know, you save yourselves, save the world. You may even kill God at the end, but I haven't actually got there yet, so we'll see. Now, while just about everything in this game is being praised, what's really standing out is the prologue. The prologue is utterly incredible. Beyond that, though, it's exceedingly French, and just as the French comics and animation scene owes a big debt to Japan, so does this game, and that's not just me editorializing, that is overtly a parallel drawn by the creative director who gave the producer copies of FF10 and Persona 5. But to my horror, not a copy of the best JRPG of all time, which obviously is The Lord of the Rings, The Third Age. Anyway, here's what's wild about this game. It's not AAA, even though it's besting them, even though it looks like one. In a way, the sheer excitement around Expedition 33 almost underplays the many reasons why this game is able to punch way above its weight class. One of the biggest talking points about Expedition 33 is the team itself, that somehow only 30 developers made this thing, that they cast off the shackles of Ubisoft and made a linear game that was the opposite of an Ubisoft game. And that, thankfully, is not wrong, but it's also not the full story, so here goes. Sandfall Interactive are a new studio established in 2020. Expedition 33 was in development since 2019, that's back when the creative director, Guillaume...
This has too many spoiler gameplay. I know that this is probably part of the trailer, but I'm gonna X-nay this video because I don't want to spoil myself with this B-roll. I like you, Billionaire, but I can't. I don't want to spoil myself. I want to see it for myself if I end up getting to play it. So we'll watch a different video. Um, um, oh, okay. All right. So, free to share games. He goes into a video. Oh, the other this is the
Okay, today's video is kind of wild, and I'll start by sharing some stats.
Okay. This is the link, the video that I said I'm not going to watch anymore because I don't want spoilers. Now, he's just using B-roll, but I want to be as virgin as possible, if I'm going to use that term. While I'm at it, give it a like, subscribe, but while I'm at it, I'm going to find the OTK Games Expo because we're going to be looking at that. I'm writing down things. Here we go. I'm gonna be making a video on that one. I'm gonna be making it on the OTK Games Expo. And I'll be featuring the ones that like. I will be playing the demos that are available that I like. Later, okay. That.
Okay, today we got to talk about a business model that very few people really think about, that's not done that often, that could actually...
Okay. Now that we start over again, this is, what is this? This is free to share games. I have no idea what that is. But Bellier goes into detail about it, and I hope it's just not a whole entire video for an ad. But let's see.
Okay, today we got to talk about a business model that very few people really think about, that's not done that often, that could actually solve one of the big problems in this industry, and we've got real working examples, including a game that just came out. And the problem is this: how the hell do you compete with free? The entire industry is trying to grapple with this problem, and there's a stat that highlights why. That's kind of creepy. Across all platforms, 50% of player time goes into the same set of games, and those games are either free to play or they're COD-style incumbents that you just can't unseat. And that's a problem. It's hard for new stuff to actually get cut through. And today's story then is something we rarely see. It's a business model called free to share. It's also the first game out from Dreamhaven. Dreamhaven, of course, is the company set up by Blizzard Entertainment co-founder Mike Morhaime. And luckily for them, Sonderfolk has released in the wake of what's almost certainly the best performing free to share game of all time. It's called Split Fiction. It's one of 2025's best selling games.
That's what he meant. Okay. So that's what he meant. Free to share, as in, like, sort of what PlayStation is doing already, but, like, I don't know if many people actually, like, use PlayStation's version, which is, hey, come play this game with me. But Fiction's version is, I believe he's going to say that Split Fiction's version is, hey, I bought this copy. Here is your copy of the game for now. Instead of, like, linking you to me, you have your own version of the game for either forever, because I saw the first trailer of this when the CEO or the lead director or whatever was saying that, hey, you can play with your friend and you can give it to your friend free. He explained it pretty well, but I forget his exact explanation of whether or not it's free and then you get to keep that, or if it's free and then once you beat the game it goes away. But that's basically free to share is what my understanding is. Let's see what value there says.
And you cannot play the game solo. You literally can't. Yet it sold 2 million copies in a week. Not 2 million players, 2 million copies. That's sales, and as of right now, Circana is tracking it as the 10th best-selling game of the year in the US, even though perhaps some conventional wisdom maybe would say, you sold a lot of copies. Surely you could have sold more if you didn't, well, have most of the people who ended up playing the game not pay any money for it. And that's because
Right, the Friends Pass, you get to share it with a friend, and then they get to play it with an actual copy.
Split Fiction has got a friend pass. It's quite fascinating. It works like this. You buy the game, right? So you pay a premium price for a premium co-op game. And then because of the friend pass, you can play that game with whoever the hell you want because it's free to share. And Hazelight even convinced Electronic Arts to make the sharing actually be cross-platform. And so with this game, it's clearly working. I think other companies are going to start noticing, and that's what brings us to the first internally developed Dreamhaven game that's released. This is Sonderfolk, and there are very few games like it. Honestly, breath of fresh air. The entire marketing pitch, right, is that you can, quote, rediscover game night. So basically, it's a game made by people who like pen and paper RPGs and that kind of thing, but, you know, they kind of want a video game version of that that recaptures the same energy. And in terms of gameplay, this is reducing things, but you could think of it as being a bit like Baldur's Gate 3 co-op, but where only one person needs to own the game. So most of the people who play this game will not have paid money for it, unless they, spotted a few quid to their friend. Now, this is a game that we had our eyes on here because it's one of the many studios that were formed by ex-Blizzard Entertainment staff, and in this case, it's Moorheim's Dreamhaven being the publisher and their own studio Secret Door being the developer, and much like Split Fiction, it's a premium game. And I don't know about you, but whenever I first saw it, I got sticker shock. I thought, what the hell? How are you charging that much money? And then free to share clicked. So unlike Split Fiction, where it's you and a friend, here, it's you and a whole group of friends building characters and running a campaign, but where only one person needs to own the video game. But the thing is, you all will need to own something, and can kind of resurrect an old legendary quote. Don't you guys already have phones? Yes, it's so perfectly memeable, but it is actually the case that each player will actually play this game using the Sonderfolk controller app. Now, the good news is that app is free, and the reason why is this actually works just like Jackbox, but for RPGs. And to be honest, if you ask me, they've absolutely cooked with this. Now, there's a large part of me that says, God damn it, just let me use a controller. But actually taking a look at it, you can see that they're doing cool things with the idea of every player having their own private UI, and then the actual game table on your big screen, well, not having all the stuff it would need to have if everyone had a gamepad attached. So honestly, pretty cool. Now, look, I can see that being a tough sell, but if you look at the Steam reviews, they are 94%, and of all of them, I think this one captures the sentiment perfectly. Quote, I paid for a game that I can play with my partner, my friends that I play board games with, without them having to pay anything. That just feels good. A bit like you having, a copy of Catan that you can bring and play with your friends. You think about that with video games. The idea of you bringing your video game disc.
If they did that with Mario Kart, I think that they would sell a lot more copies. If they did that with Smash, I think that they would sell a lot more copies. But Nintendo is Nintendo, and they're not going to do so.
And maybe bringing it to your friend's house, or heaven forbid, lending it to your friend. That is a level of unmonetized gameplay that our industry usually absolutely loses its shit over. But here, they're embracing that as a way to grow their game. I think it's goddamn smart. But more than that, it's important. It's not generically important, it's important because of the market today. Free to share has existed for a while. Other games have done this in smaller ways, right? And one of the ways these companies end up competing is basically a race to the bottom for free to play or cramming more stuff into their games, whereas here there's a competitive edge that actually opens up an entire new avenue of game design. That's why I love this. Like that Steam review said, this is effectively like buying a board game or a tabletop rulebook and then sharing it with your gaming group, but it's taking the lead from a long-running series to make it actually work in the context of video games. And that series is Jackbox. And there's a reason why half the Steam reviews explicitly call it Jackbox Cross Gloomhaven, in that it's a party game paired with a board game, which is real cool. And if you ask me, it fixes one of gaming's largest problems, a problem that has led to more and more studios going into that awful race to the bottom. It's simply that game economics are not working for players, for game design itself, or many game developers, and that is felt the most keenly in indie multiplayer titles. That problem, right, where a game never reaches critical mass in terms of players, and because it never reaches critical mass, it never catches on, which then means that its value is worth zero. And I say that as a day one purchaser and player of Lawbreakers. Don't I feel smart? And it really is a problem, because when you have the fear that your purchase can literally be worth zero because it's a multiplayer game that collapsed, you're just not going to want to buy that game. And when I mentally flipped the script on this, it began to feel completely absurd. Imagine a world where, to play Settlers of Catan, you and everyone around the game board, brought their own little slice of Catan, and it's only by all of you buying it that you're able to play Catan. That would be absolutely silly and ridiculous. Yet that is the complete standard and norm for multiplayer games, assuming they're not free-to-plays. And I think that's a real problem. It's killing innovation, it's killing so many games, and if I'm just to set aside the idea that this would enable whole new types of video game, we're actually seeing it being used in a few other contexts. And this one's real fascinating. It's a PvP game that's called Midnight Murder Club. Now, it's a game from Velen Studios, and they just, man, they're a goddamn case study in this. Their prior game was called Knockout City. It was a dodgeball PvP game that had 12 million total players, but only lasted 2 years because it couldn't retain people in the long term. Does that not show that the games industry is basically fucked, right? I mean, does it not show that? How can you have 12 million players and, well, because that cannot be people's main game that they play forever, like a Fortnite or a Call of Duty, oh, sorry, it just can't be viable in the market.
Also, that game came out while Fortnite was hot and while Call of Duty was trying to chase Fortnite, so it was really just bad timing. Also, the game, it's okay. I mean, 12 million players. So, I mean, there's that. But, to me, it was okay. It was mid. But it was also trying to compete against Fortnite. And Fortnite is a behemoth even back then.
That's the thing, whenever everybody goes free to play, there's a certain level of scale that you need to keep that going. And with Knockout City, apparently 12 million total players was not enough scale. And what that means for you and me is quite simply less games, less options, less creativity. Now what's interesting is their new game, Midnight Murder Club. It's trying to solve that problem, and it's trying to solve it by using guest passes. The way it works is that up to 5 people can play the game, earn progression on all.
You just said gas passes. Have guest passes. Guest passes. The gas passes. I caught that earlier.
That stuff without buying a copy. Now, there is still a price-based barrier to entry, but the principle here is that those premium costs mean that these indie games don't have to go the way of a free-to-play live service in order to survive. This means, right? This is insane, but this means you can have a game that's fun, that's designed for multiple people, but that does not require, say, I don't know, 40,000 concurrents all the time. In a world where business models allow that to make sense, we, the gaming audience, will have a much better time. And to carry forward the idea of one of your friends owning Catan, and that meaning you can all go and play Catan together, well, how do people play video games these days? It's no longer in siloed party chat stuck within a game, right? It's not that. It's not even on guild chat in whatever MMO you're playing. It's in Discord servers that are centered on cross-game groups. That is the perfect audience to target this business model at. But as much as all of this could be me glazing this new business model, this is all not to say that free-to-share is going to be the new big thing and that it will dominate, because we do have to look at the sobering realities. The big problem that this will face, obviously, is getting the game in front of people and being successful in the long term. I've just described a load of positive network effects and things about the business model that I think are really cool, and I love the idea of the Jackbox model being applied to more games. I think that will open up new types of creativity. I love it. And putting my business hat on, I do love that it still has a strong network effect. You can sell lots of copies because player A will buy a copy, they will play that copy with, say, 3 or 4 of their friends. Then maybe player B plays it for free with player A, then player B wants to play it with their other friends. Oh dear, now they go and they buy the game. But they're predisposed to buy the game because they already enjoyed it. They already enjoyed it with their friends. Now, it's not something we talk about much in games, but you know the way in like sales and marketing, you've got the idea of leads, nurturing leads, and having a warm lead. Well, I think with a game like this,
Sure.
how have you just played Sonderfolk? Oh, you just played it with your friends. That means you're going to have a better time. That probably means you'll be more willing to spend $50 on this compared to another game because, guess what? You played it with your friends, you've all had some good fun. That does make a lot of sense, but in this case, we do have to contend with the price tags. So, Sonderfolk is a $50 game. That's about the cost of a new AA release, and I think it's fair to say that's actually what this game is. It's a full premium game. That makes sense. Now, another full premium game, of course, is Split Fiction. It's a AA that was able to ask that price because it's the follow-up to a universally regarded Game of the Year in the form of It Takes Two. And it's from a studio that's been cultivating die-hard fans all the way since Brothers Tale of Two Sons. So, obviously, it's got a hell of a lot going for it. With Sonderfolk, then, it's in the multiplayer space. You could maybe say it's sort of akin to something like Repo. Now, Repo costs $10, and that can become a problem in comparison. In theory, right, it all averages out. 4 players spending $10 for an early access game versus 1 player buying, well, one $50 game that they can play with basically whoever they want. But the theoretical is not necessarily practical, and that still takes one person to take the plunge to actually start that whole thing rolling. And it's this comparison that I want you to think about, and do leave your answer in the comments. I will tally them up, and yeah, we'll talk about them later. But basically, right? What do you think is better? That you could buy a game for $10, you could play it with your friends, they'd all have to spend $10. Or do you prefer the idea a little bit more like a board game of the $50 game like Sonderfolk? What would you actually buy? $10 is an impulse purchase. The other thing is, I think with $10, you get a lot of Steam algorithm friendliness. You know, what the hell, $10. I think a lot of people will do that and they'll put money in. That'll be good for the game algorithmically, good for its visibility. When you look at $50, look, you get sticker shock. And here's the thing, right? My personal experience of Sonderfolk was I was linked to it in Steam. So I went to the link, I saw the price tag, and I basically thought, oh my god, are they insane? That's so much money. What the hell? Of course, I didn't immediately think, oh wait, it's a free-to-share business model, so this is actually a hell of a good deal, and I can see how it makes sense. So I think that will be something where it'll put people off, even people who would love free-to-share, because you only know about free-to-share once you actually click into the thing. So that does mean that a game like Sonderfolk, I think, will struggle per algorithmic growth. But what it's well set up for is viral word of mouth, which personally is my favorite. But what if I told you that not getting viral success was literally the goddamn point of this video? Take a look at how many Steam reviews Sonderfolk has got. It's got like 8. Okay, it's not, it's like 250. Now, it probably didn't help Sonderfolk that it was, you know, dropped the same week as 2 of the biggest RPGs of the year with Oblivion and Expedition 33. So that was a tough place for them to start. I have a feeling a lot of Oblivion players would also be interested in this game. But even with all that said, Sonderfolk was all...
Yeah, they should have probably moved up or back. If they really want, obviously they did think that they needed to. I mean, once people are done playing Oblivion, they might switch on over to this game. But as for his question, would I rather pay $10 for a game and every one of my friends has to pay $10 like a normal multiplayer game? Or would I rather pay $50 and be able to share it with my friends? And that's unlimited as well. So I mean, either way, I'm going to be playing COD. I'm going to be playing Call of Duty. So either way, I'm going to be paying $70 to $80. So either way, it's a steal. So but he is right in the fact that like $10 is like a $10, whatever. So
always going to be a niche game. I don't think they were ever planning to, you know, take on World of Warcraft with a Jackbox RPG. Come on, they were never going to try and do that. The entire point, and the reason why I'm excited about this business model, is it allows for niche success, where a product has got evergreen value. Now that could just sound like me spitting out a whole bunch of words, but again, think about my purchase of Lawbreakers. It wasn't worth anything. That went to zero, and at least
let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about his question. Would you rather pay $10 and have everyone pay $10 of your friends, like a normal multiplayer game, or would you rather just pay $50 and be able to share that game with everyone? I think that if you're a streamer, you probably want to pay $50 and be able to play it with whoever you want. That way you can share your friends pass with maybe randoms or subscribers, or you know, you can do a lot with that. But if you're a regular player, I wouldn't blame you to pay the lower price. If you guys are enjoying, please consider following. You do not have to sub. Please consider following. On YouTube, please consider subbing. Like, comment, subscribe, please. And let's finish up this video.
At least, hey, the people who bought Concords did get a refund. The point, though, in those cases is there was a large critical mass of those games value. Now that could just sound like me spitting out a whole bunch of words, but again, think about my purchase of Lawbreakers. It wasn't worth anything. That went to zero, and at least, hey, the people who bought Concords did get a refund. The point, though, in those cases is there was a large critical mass of those games needed to hit to be viable in the market. I would hope that with something like Sonderfolk, the whole point is it's a load of value, it can be financially stable whilst being niche, and they don't need to go free to play and completely ram it full of cosmetics or any of the other goofy, annoying shit that we've all had way too much of by this stage. I want a world where niche games can be successful and where the unit economics actually say, hey, you only need, I don't know, 30, 40, 50,000 sales, which, I mean, it's a lot of sales, but still, it's not astronomical, and where a game does not need to post a continually massive concurrent player base. The idea that you could play a game with your mates and then just wait 6 months, play it again, and it always is of value because it's a thing that you own. Just like how you may only play Catan with your friends every 6 months, but that doesn't mean that suddenly Catan is a dead game. And while I'm not sure if it's a success yet, I don't know their margins or anything like that, I do think that free to share is something that could catch on, and I think it's got a real place in today's market. I think it will be better for us as gamers. I think we'll get more interesting, more unique things. But again, for every repo, Valheim, or Lethal Company, there are a dozen games that just don't take off that released at the same time. I think free to share is a model that can try to carve out niches in an industry that currently is all about the biggest success being rewarded with more success and a winner-takes-all attitude that's just bad for innovation and bad for creativity. And to wrap that up, I've got one line. This line is a certified goddamn banger, and I can say that because I didn't write it, Connor did on our team. Here's the line. These developers have to compete with free, but they don't want to feel cheap. Bravo! That is the best line. That's what I want more of in this industry. Good luck to them. Let me know how you would engage with this. Do you think free to share could be big? Do you think it could catch on? Would you use it? I seriously want to know. Yeah, I don't know. I have an emotional horse in this race. I really want to see disruption and innovation in games. I think free to share could do it. So yes, let's compete with free, but not by being cheap.
All right, that was a good video. Good video. Here is the link, and I will give my last thoughts on know what I think. I had no clue what that was going to be about when I first up, but I figured it was Bellular, so it had to be good. I very much trust him. So as for his question, for his question, sorry, hold on, find it good. As for his question,
And of all of them,
I think that if I was an indie solo developer, right? If I was an indie solo developer making my game, I would probably not do free to share. I'm probably not do free to share. If I was the CEO or whatever you want to call it, the lead, the owner of a AA studio, I would probably say yes, do free to share. Probably have the backing, or we've made more games like the Take Two the It Takes Two studio. They've made a few games. They've had a bunch of success. Game of the year. They've worked their way up to be able to do that, and now they've are big enough where they can shed some light on free to share, and that's good because they have raised their power level enough to shed some light on it. As an indie developer, I would probably, like I said, not do it. If I were to do it, it would have to be the right game, and I would probably say maybe if I have enough wish lists or a wish list goal, or I would poll the community that I'm building, or I would get a whole fuck ton of data, like poll, like community poll, like the community that I'm making. I would poll them. I would see if the early access members, if I put my game in early access, I would ask them. I would ask on make a Discord and ask them. I would make a Reddit and ask them. I would put a whole bunch of numbers and data together and then make my decision. That is the only thing about being an indie developer that you have to keep in mind. If I were to be an indie developer, that being said, I think that pretty much sums up my thoughts. I can't really say all that in one comment section, but let's see what other people are talking about. But to be honest, both have their own utility. $10 is an easy pick, but man, the feeling it gives me knowing I can spend $50 and play with anyone as many times as I want, it does personally hold a high value. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's a fence sitting type of question. Like it's hard to say. Biggest barrier entry is the price tag. Yeah, that's true. We share it's a rebranding of what we used to do back in the day. That's also true. You used to be able to just give your disc to your friend. I literally remember bringing over. Well, actually, that's not true. I remember Xbox. I'm Xbox. But if I didn't have a game that he didn't, I had a game that he didn't have, I would definitely bring it over to his house. Generally, my friends when I was younger, they had all the games that I had, so I didn't really need to like worry about bringing my game over to their house. That wasn't really a thing for me, at least for me. So anyway, that was the link for you share. Want to give them, go watch the video yourself and support Bellier and like share your thoughts on whether or not you pick the $10 option or the $50 option. That's a good question. Present to your viewers, but I don't have any questions like I'm gonna steal his and ask you guys to participate too. I already gave my answer, and my answer is a wee bit long to put in a comment box, so I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Anyway, that is that, and let's move on to the next video. This is the trailer for Lovers 2. They have an expansion that they or a DLC or whatever you want to call it. Before they had the they added vehicles, they added I think a giant robot, I think they added a new enemy type, robots, the bugs, and the version of the automaton. I haven't really played a lot of Helldivers, because that's very much more of a with your friends, and I don't have any friends, so we're gonna watch this trailer, and it's only 55 seconds, and something I'll put this in. This will be the last one before we get into the Games Expo, and then we'll play some demos. Getting late. But yeah, let's just watch this video. It's only 55 seconds.
Attention, Helldivers. This is a galactic emergency. The true Illuminate invasion has arrived. Planetary defenses are overwhelmed. In a sudden, completely unprovoked offensive, they emerged. Nothing is safe.
Purple beam of destruction, representative of suspected Illuminate path. Actual path may vary.
Not even the heart of democracy itself. Liberty's darkest hour approaches. Super Earth needs you. All Helldivers to Hellpods. The battle for humanity has begun.
There a gameplay trailer of oh bless you. Good. What you got, Aaron?
Democracy burns. Super Earth has been invaded. The illuminate scourge lays waste to hallowed ground. Cities in ruins. Families torn apart. Flags disrespectfully soiled. Billions of votes have already been lost.
No.
Could this be the end of managed democracy? Not today. Now is the time for full mobilization. Every defender of peace, rally to arms. We will turn our streets into our battlefield.
This sounds awesome.
Our playgrounds into our theater of war. We will form the clenched fist of democracy and show them what true freedom is. Disciplined, armed, and absolute. Join the fight. Super Earth needs you.
War of the Worlds type of shit. Damn. We're going back to Earth. We're going back. We're going back to Earth. I got it. We're going back to Earth. We're going way back to Earth. And we're self-lit. Man. Crazy World of Worlds type of shit. I'll click. Alright, well, that was that. Apparently we're going back to Earth, and I haven't played Helldivers in a while, but that actually makes me want to play again. Once we played, yeah, I'm not surprised. Not surprised. That. It looks so like close quarters. Super close quarters. But if they do this, then so I have two questions. One, did this happen because not enough players were like pushing them back, or were they just, you know, trying to like do something different? So they're trying to get more players back. So they're this is just marketing. Want to one. 4 minutes.
In Heart of Democracy, we're going to the heart of democracy.
The Illuminats are back, and they're back with a vengeance. This time, they come with their full fleet.
And what do you do when ships invade you? You shoot them down.
Since Omens of Tyranny, the Illuminats have been attacking planets all over the galaxy. While they have been working from the shadows, moving Meridia closer and closer to Super-Earth. After Super-Earth managed to stop Meridia, the Illuminat fleet emerged and headed straight for Super-Earth, the heart of democracy. Super-Earth itself is under attack. Since Omens of Tyranny, the Illuminats have been attacking planets all over the galaxy. While they have been working from the shadows, moving Meridia closer and closer to Super-Earth. After Super-Earth managed to stop Meridia, the Illuminat fleet emerged and headed straight for Super-Earth, the heart of democracy.
The path may vary. I knew that was just a funny thing. The path may vary.
Super-Earth itself is under attack, and Helldivers must fight to defend their home planet. Cities offer a new kind of gameplay, where players need to be more careful about throwing stratagems and consider their Super Destroyer position more.
For the first time, you'll also have some help from the Super-Earth Armed Forces.
Together with them, they will try to combat the Illuminat threat and save Super-Earth from falling into enemy tentacles.
Actually being able to go into our cores, our cities, our headquarters, it's a big part of the fantasy.
Mysterious overships are looming over Super-Earth cities. You're going to activate a massive cannon, the planetary defense cannon. But not only that, you actually get to manually control and aim it, which is something that is completely new. The goal is to shoot the overship, but of course you can shoot whatever you want. In this mission, the Illuminats are trying to land their warp ships to establish outposts. It's your job to make sure that they don't get this foothold. This is a tug-of-war, blitz-style mission, where you have to shoot down these ships to stop them from gaining an area inside of the Super-Earth cities.
The Leviathan kind of snakes through the cities. It takes a lot of firepower to take down, so you might not even be that interested in attacking it. You might just want to get away from it.
It just wreaks havoc. It runs into buildings. It will make your day a living hell.
Unlike the Leviathan that's kind of on its own path, the Stingray circles the battlefield and is always looking for targets to attack on the ground.
They come in, they do strafing runs.
It's going to circle around until you find a way to take it down, and it's gonna be fun to see how our players figure that one out. Unlike the regular boatless that are kind of blind and slow and lumbering around, these have assembled their collective strength to become this big.
If any of you have played the modern zombie Call of Duty Zombies before, that looks like an amalgam. That looks like they, I don't want to say copied, but they probably have some inspiration from, but also they were probably planning this at the same time that Call of Duty was planning theirs. So I mean, like, it is what it is.
Terrifying meat wall that just starts relentlessly attacking once it smells any blood. It's much faster than it looks, it's much more dangerous than it looks, it just counts.
Actually, with all the heads, kind of looks more like a help me out. What's the boss zombie in ZNS in Zetsuma no Shima? the green dude with all the orange spots. I forget the name of that zombie, but yeah, no, he looks more like that, but like the shell of an amalgam.
I'm throwing a lot of
Especially like the way that like flails
resources on it to make sure it doesn't bother you again. But that doesn't mean there's not gonna be another one. There's gonna be plenty of these.
To counter all these new threats and battle the enemies of democracy, you can customize your weapon to fit your playstyle. If you want a larger magazine or a smaller one, but a faster reload. You can have different optics.
That's very, very new. You never do that before. That's good. Good update. It's very, very good.
You can adjust your recoil, your sway. For a complete breakdown of the weapon customization feature, there is
Play the game. For complete for a complete version of the customization, play the game. Play the game.
is a whole video available about just that feature. Go check that out. Of course, there are more things to this patch. Small changes, hidden changes. And I don't know where you are right now watching this, but I know where you should be. You should be on Super Earth saving democracy.
The flags are burning. Super Earth calls for aid. Will you answer the call?
Yeah, I am so glad that he was able to. Mikkel, I think his name is. I am so glad that he was able to get out of the CEO role and be able to do this kind of stuff. Because this kind of stuff is fun. Making marketing material, this part is fun. Especially when you don't have to worry about the CEO side. And I'm glad that he was able to step down and do what he, because he obviously looks like he's having a lot of fun. Looks like it to me, just seeing the first interaction with all these devs, it seems like they're all friends. Like, I don't really get that with like COD devs. Like, they're all very, very into. They're all very like a very tight knit group. And yes, they're a AA studio, so like a bit smaller, but like they really just, I don't know. I got the vibe for some reason that they're relatively better. Like, yes, they're coworkers, but they're like more like friends than like COD developers, like I said, or Bethesda developers, like I said, or not like I said, but or Bethesda developers, like that kind of thing. So I'm glad that he got out of this. But this is that was the deep dive. That was the deep dive of this new patch. I will link you guys the video, and you guys go ahead and check that out if you want to see it for yourself. If you want to help them out with their channel. I also was watching the other one that was the trailer type of thing. But yeah, new patch. New patch. There's two. Oh. Go YouTube. Divers to update. yeah, go check out that go help Super Earth. Please. Please go like they said, go help Super Earth. Here's another here's one last video. Oh. I unmute.
Earth has been invaded by the Illuminate in a completely... Helldivers 2 got another major update. Super Earth has been invaded by the Illuminate in a completely unprompted, unwarranted attack, and it's up to the Helldivers to defend its peaceful democratic streets. I love the dumb underlying plot of this game so much. Heart of Democracy.
Yeah, that was really good. The other teaser trailer had like, I don't know if you guys remember, they I mean, just saw the video, but like not the direct path, like paths may vary, but then they deliberately say that they went straight for Super Earth.
Is the newest update for Helldivers 2, where the Helldivers have to push back the Illuminate invasion wherever they're landing, taking back the planet city by city. And from the gameplay perspective, it's a nice change of scenery. The ultimate goal here is to arm the planetary defense cannons to shoot down the invading Illuminate ships, while you're commanding squads of SEAF.
Say something else, but I guess not. But yeah, that is the Helldivers 2 deep dive into the new update, the invasion of Earth. And yeah. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, and then I'll be right back. All right, I'm muted. Good thing I'm not recording anymore or whatever. So I'm gonna end it here. I've been streaming for about 3 hours now. I'm gonna go get some food. I am getting hungry. So I'm gonna go do that. But we to recap, we did a lot of good today. I have had trouble in the past trying to get myself to stream, and I finally did, and I'm happy with the progress that I made. I just gotta be more consistent. Staring at 1 to 2 viewers every day is not very fun, so it's very draining. Not to be a sad sap, but we did look at a lot of trailers. They're all in the chat. The links are all in the chat. Go show your support, and that is about it. I gotta go get something to eat, and next time, probably next week, we will I will get that's what I was saying. I was saying, I realized I was muted. I was saying that I will get I'm sure there's a video on YouTube on here. Let's go look it up right now. EK Expo. I will react to something like this. And I will I don't know. It was like 50 plus games, right? They said 50 plus indie games, right? So it might be a lot, but it might be better just to watch the whole stream. I don't know. Next time, I guess we'll lead with that. We'll watch one game trailer, or we'll do only 1 or 2 videos of reacting and watching together, and then we'll go straight into the indie games, because I do want to find the games that I like and actually play the demos that are available. I think that'll be interesting to do. But I gotta get something to eat right now, so it won't be today, it will be next time. Thank you all for coming out, and I hope you all enjoyed the stream, and look for the videos on my YouTube channel, because I will be breaking down those videos and putting them up as separate. All right. You guys have a good night.